Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. On July 30th, 1993 at 10:17 p.m., the surging Missouri River punched through the Monarch Levee in West County, St. Louis. A wall of floodwater spilled through a 100-foot section of the levee, filling the Chesterfield Valley with thousands of gallons of floodwater. 14 years later, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers announced that there were design deficiencies in the levees which protect the American Bottom area of Metro East. Those deficiencies could prevent them from recertifying that those levees could protect that area against a large flood. The conclusion by the Corps is leading FEMA to announce a decision to de-accredit the levee systems. The cost of correcting those deficiencies may top $500 million. The reclassification of the American Bottom as a special flood hazard area by FEMA will have a dramatic and chilling effect on economic growth and require most homeowners to buy flood insurance at substantially increased rates. To discuss this important issue is our guest, Les Sterman, Chief Supervisor for the Southwest Illinois Flood Prevention District Council. Les Sterman, welcome to Conversation. That's a mouthful right there.
Yeah, it sure is.
And I understand your title, your real title's even longer than that.
Yes, it's Chief Supervisor of Construction and the Works, if you can believe that.
And the Works.
Yes, I'm not sure. I'm a staff of one at this point, so I don't supervise anybody, and we don't even know what the Works is. So, but it's an important job. It's one that was specified in the law that created the organization and the tax sales tax that people are paying to actually address this problem.
Well, let's back up a second. The tax that you just talked about. So this apparently August of '07 was a critical date in this whole saga. What happened at that time?
Yeah, it's something of a historical occasion at this point. It was, quote, a levee summit that was organized by Congressman Costello. And he asked the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to come and brief local officials on the condition of the levees.
Why out of the clear blue did Congressman Costello decide to have this summit?
Well, since 2003, the Congress had basically asked FEMA to redo all of the flood maps, flood insurance rate maps, firms they call them, for the country, because there'd been a lot of flooding. Obviously, '93 was a landmark event for us, but these maps had not been redrawn since the '70s. Of course, we have better techniques for drawing maps, et cetera. So the Congress asked FEMA to redraw all the maps, and that process had been ongoing since 2003. And then, of course, Hurricane Katrina.
I was going to say, this predates Hurricane Katrina.
It does. But what happened was in 2005, when Katrina hit New Orleans, the Congress decided to ratchet up that process, because this is a multi-year process. Very costly, literally billions of dollars to redo all these maps. So Congress appropriated more money, asked FEMA to speed up the process, and lucky us, we were one of the first areas to actually be remapped. And Congressman Costello, of course, had been tracking all of this from his vantage point in Washington, and thought that we needed to be up to speed on all this. So he called this meeting. And what happened was that FEMA and the Corps of Engineers announced that our levees systems could no longer be certified to protect against this 100-year flood event.
Well, before we go further, did he realize when he called for this look-see what the outcome might be?
Yeah, I think he did, and that's why he felt it was important to have this meeting. That decision, which was not well understood, frankly, at the time, turns out to have enormous consequences for this region.
Mm-hmm. This region being defined, we've got like a map that that I asked them to put up on the screen on occasion. This might be a good moment for them to, over there in the booth, to put that up. But yeah, this area is defined as where?
Well, it's a significant portion of three counties, Madison, St. Clair, and Monroe, an area known historically as the American Bottom. It's the floodplain along the Mississippi, very large, 174 square miles, about 100.
There it is right there, right now. So the northern part of this map is in Alton.
Alton, Wood River area.
And then it continues down to all the way to Columbia in
Right.
Monroe County.
And basically it goes out to the bluffs, Route 157 or thereabouts in Madison and St. Clair County. So it's a huge area, 155,000 people, as many as 70,000 jobs, huge industries. ConocoPhillips, one of the largest refineries in the country, Solutia, U.S. Steel, just a host of industries that we don't hear a lot about that really need to be there because they need river access and rail access, et cetera. So it's a critical area for this region, not just southwestern Illinois, but the entire St. Louis region. And so when this decision was announced in 2007, I don't think people fully understood the consequences of that, but it didn't take very long for it to sink in. And so
what was it that they learned that made it start to sink in?
Well, it's like everything else. You go through a period of denial. These levees have protected us literally since the 1940s. There has not been any significant flooding in our area. There's been no structural failure of the levee systems. There's always a certain amount of skepticism when a bureaucrat comes to town and tells you you've got a problem. As a consequence, the elected officials actually asked the East-West Gateway Council of Governments, where I used to work, to actually check into all of this and to do a status report and to determine if this indeed was a problem. We did that, and that report was issued in December of 2007, following the announcement, and basically confirmed that there were some issues. Not totally clear on the dimensions of those issues. We asked the Corps of Engineers for an estimate of the cost to fix the levees, and we said, look, be generous. Don't skimp on this, because whatever the money is, we're going to be faced with the prospect of going out and getting it, and we don't want to come up short. So they said about $120 million. We added 50% to that, understanding how inflation and engineering processes work, to get up to $180 million. The state legislators in the area, principally led by Senator Hayne from Alton, proposed legislation to actually collect a quarter-cent sales tax in the entirety of the three counties, not just the floodplain.
This happened in 07 or 08?
It happened late 07 was the introduction of the legislation, and 08 it passed.
And was there a vote among the citizens?
No, there was no vote. There was a vote by the state, the General Assembly, and then there were votes by the three county boards in the three counties. They had to go through certain steps, like to declare an emergency, and ultimately they formed what are known as flood prevention districts, authorized under the law in each of the three counties. Those flood prevention districts each met, went through independent processes to kind of verify that this was indeed an emergency, a serious issue. They then asked the county board to impose this tax. So it was voted on by the county boards. There was not a general popular vote for it. So the legislation was passed in May of 08, and the tax, we started collecting the tax back in January of 2009. So it collected for a little bit more than a year, bringing in about $10 million a year.